Hello and welcome to this week's IG Live. Today I am privileged to be talking to author, advocate, and actress Tiffany Storrs. She is going to be joining us to talk about her experiences with invisible disabilities and what she has learned from that about diversity and how a lot of times when we talk about diversity and everyone seems to be so enthusiastic about it, a lot of times it's very superficial. And that was something that she learned from her own experiences, which were a very painful experience, but something that she says that difficulty, sorrow, pain is really the entry point for joy. And so we'll be finding out exactly what she means by that. And how she has turned her pain into purpose. And one of the things that she wants to do is help inspire other people to do the same thing. Everybody goes through hardships. And so she wants to help people feel like there's some purpose to that and to use it to live a more full and more joyful life. So we'll be talking with her again. That's Tiffany Storrs. You can read her memoir, which I just finished a few days ago. It's really incredible. It's a fast read. But one that I really enjoyed, it's called Adaptability. And again, that's by Tiffany Storrs. And we'll be talking about how her life changed really in a fairly short space of time and through invisible disabilities like infertility, heart problems, and hearing loss. So we'll be talking about how she has used that to become an advocate, and she's a bridge between the hearing and the deaf communities, and using her experience to help inspire others. She really went through a very difficult time where she thought she was going to die. The doctors weren't sure if she was going to survive. And so she feels like she was kind of left here in order, she had a higher purpose to do with her life, and that's why she's still with us. And so we're going to be talking more about that. You know, we do this every week at 1 o'clock Eastern. And we always try to bring you some kind of inspiration in addition to practical tools that you can use in your own life to help inspire you to live a more full life and to find what your purpose is. You know, we talk a lot about our dreams and our purposes in life. And so we're going to be talking about that and giving you some tools to do that. If you want to go back and look, we have a long archive. We've been doing this for a few years now, and so you can go back and look at some of our past IG lives in the Reels tab. If you just click on that, you can kind of scroll through them, see some of the topics we've talked about. We've talked about meditation, we've talked about journaling as a tool, and different resources. We've talked about how to build more inclusive communities and classrooms so we can all enjoy this diverse world we live in. And today we are going to be talking to Tiffany Storrs about how she has turned the difficulty she went through into purpose and in her own life, and talking specifically about her memoir, which she wrote recently called Adaptability, where you can learn more about it. She has a lot of really amazing things to say about what it's like to live with hidden invisible disabilities and what it really taught her about her other people and about what it's like to live in a more diverse community that is not superficially diverse, but actually on here for you in just a minute. And again, if you can't watch the whole thing, we'll have it all up for you on Instagram a few minutes after we finish, and later it will be on our YouTube channel. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here.
Well, it is such a privilege to talk with you. I was mentioning your memoir, Adaptability, that I just finished a few days ago, and I really enjoyed reading. It was such an incredible read, and you are so inspiring. But maybe for people that don't know you, maybe you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, and I'm glad that my book resonated with you. Yes, first and foremost, I like to think of myself as a triple threat. I'm an actress, I'm an advocate, and I'm a best-selling author now of Adaptability, which is my true story about how I transformed pain into purpose. And that pain in particular, the biggest pain to me, was as a new mom, I suddenly went deaf. Mm-hmm. And when that happened, I encountered instead of support, I encountered a lot of disbelief and lack of support. And in the process, really woke up to what I saw missing in society and a huge flaw in how we look at hidden disabilities and how we believe them and what we need proof of. And it really appalled me. And it just started this fire in me that so much more needs to be done to add visibility to hidden disabilities. And through all that, losing my hearing, going deaf, I also discovered I had a fatal heart arrhythmia through one of my cochlear implant surgeries. So having been that challenged, so many setbacks in such a short, condensed period of time, I feel really resurrected me a warrior and made me who I am today. But don't be mistaken when I say I'm an actress, an author, an advocate, that it has always been fancy and easy and carefree for me. It was anything but that. If anyone knew me in my younger life, knew that my life has always been hard. It has always been, and I am who I am today, and I am where I am today because of my hard work and my determination to never, never, never give up.
Yeah, and that's something that really comes through strongly in the memoir. Like you said, even before you experienced all the hidden disabilities, the invisible disabilities, you were always a fighter and always had this ethic that you were going to work hard. Especially your mom had a really hard life, and you were determined you were going to help her out also and kind of make your own way. But can you talk a little bit about what exactly are invisible disabilities for people who aren't sure, and what are the particular challenges they present as opposed to, say, something that's more obvious, like someone who's paralyzed or something along those lines? What are the particular challenges that an invisible disability presents?
Absolutely. That's a great jumping off question. I appreciate the ask. A hidden disability is a disability that's non-visible. So we can't see it with our naked eyes. Blindness, deafness, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, Lyme's disease. There's a 30-page list of hidden disabilities. Mental health takes up 2 whole pages of in that category. And it is anything that is not obvious. And what is so hard about that, I feel it's double the challenge when you have a hidden disability, because not only are you living with it on a daily basis and navigating life with this disability, which means there's always going to be barriers, the world is still not as accessible as it needs to be, but a hidden one in particular, there comes doubt. Trust me, and I know this as someone who is a late deafened person. I had normal hearing up until I was 30 years old, until I became a new mom. And so I have such a unique perspective to share, coming from a hearing world into a deaf world and how to navigate that. And the scrutiny and the disbelief I encountered was so appalling, felt so reductive. People thought I was being dramatic, possibly lying. And I'm thinking to myself, who would possibly lie about a disability like this? There is nothing we want more as a new mom than to hear and engage with our children, hear them laugh, hear their cry. And I thought, oh my gosh, what an ignorant reaction. And it didn't come from just one person, it was multiple sources. And it occurred to me, I started examining my own past behavior with people who said perhaps they struggled with mental illness or something I couldn't see. And if I'm being totally honest, maybe I did have a hard time believing what we can't see. Maybe I did, I don't know, but that has radically shifted. And we can't wait till somebody comes disabled or something unfortunate happens to have that mind shift as a society, to offer empathy, to not need proof when somebody tells you I'm struggling with something. Although I may appear healthy and normal on the outside, that doesn't mean I'm not trying as heck every day to keep up in a hearing world. We are definitely in a hearing world. I know that because I live in two different soundscapes, hearing soundscape and a deaf soundscape, because I do take off my implants and I very much enjoy my deaf life too, my ASL and that way of being. But this world was definitely built for the hearing and not for the hard of hearing. It is getting better in terms of accessibility, but we still have huge strides to make, huge. And trust me, I know this. I saw it firsthand. And COVID in particular was such a unique experience in bringing the accessibility conversation to deaf awareness in particular. And I'll tell you why. All of a sudden we were forced into remote work situations. And at that point in time, we were just happy to be able to Zoom, but closed captioning was not even a thing yet. We had to really advocate. Well, where are the captioning? Where is this? And then you go to the grocery store and people wearing masks. Deaf people, we don't want to read lips, and we don't have to read lips. I think that's the biggest misconception. It's like, oh, well, can you read my lip? No, I can't, and I don't want to. So it's either meet me where I'm at, we can sign, or we can do a speech to text app, but lip reading is not a viable option in the deaf community. And I saw firsthand just how inaccessible our world and the workplace in particular really was. And so it really brought to the forefront how much is still missing. And again, we have made huge strides in terms of accessibility, but we can still do so much better, so much better. The advocacy piece cannot stop. Inclusivity is not a trend. It's not going away. It's here to stay. It's very mainstream. And I have gotten some kickback about inclusivity and people not liking it. That's fine. My motto, don't like it, don't look, because it's going to be there. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm going to keep spreading my message because it's true to me, and I know that has helped so many people out there. And I want to continue to be a source of light and inspiration for people who are living with a disability, or in particular a hidden disability that they feel is not seen, is not heard, is not believed. That is so horrible. What does that say about society? That we need proof of something. Because when I went deaf, it did not come with an ID badge that said I can show now to people, and or is it listed on my driver's license, which I think it should be. I think we really need to put the healthcare model to implement disability, list out our disability status. So all of this came with me having to advocate for myself. But I'm a fighter. I took the challenge head on. I'm like a Spanish bull in front of a red flag. Someone tells me you can't do it, just sit down and watch the show. I'm going to prove you wrong. So all the people who doubted me, I really, really, really want to thank them. It's not out of spite. It's seriously out of love, because it just cracked my heart open, cracked my mind open to how much more we need to grow, and how we can do so much better as a society in supporting people where they're at. And we don't need proof of somebody's disability. Like, that's so sad. Like, we can do so much better. I know we can.
Yeah, and that was something that really struck me about your book. Well, one is it was probably one of the most painful parts about it was reading people's reaction to when you went deaf, and how often people were not only not supportive, but actually questioning you, thinking you were lying, thinking you were just being dramatic. And it actually delayed you getting, if I remember right, it delayed you getting diagnosed because it kind of made you question yourself. Well, maybe this will just go away. Maybe this isn't a big deal, and how much that can harm people, but also that you had such strength to go on. And I know you say it wasn't always pretty, and you didn't always, you weren't always as confident as you are now, but still you kept on going, and you have turned that pain into purpose. Where did you find the strength to do that, and what message do you hope that other people take away from reading your book or from interacting with you?
That's, I love, let me break it down to first, yes, that pain of that disbelief was very, very difficult for me. But I had something to prove. I knew what was happening to me. I knew something was different. I didn't need someone else's confirmation and validation. And I just thought, how sad, how sad. And when someone says that they have mental health, bipolarism, like, it's just, we don't need to question that. So at a minimum, respect, raising awareness and respect about hidden disabilities is the first starting point. And how I was able to keep going, I think that really was built in my childhood and growing up. You know, having a single mom who worked her buns off to raise two very strong, healthy, forward-thinking children today. She showed me what hard work is and what delayed gratification was. And nothing was handed to me. Nothing was given. I worked for everything. I paid my own way through college with a scholarship, a presidential scholarship. I knew my brother and I are 1 year apart. I knew she could not afford on a teacher's salary to send both of her children to school almost at the exact same time. So I did it myself. And then once I was in college, to maintain that level of a scholarship, it required a 3.9 every single semester. So I worked so hard, and I landed my first internship out of college at Univision, Spanish-speaking news station. Spanish was my minor. And I worked my way up from teleprompter all the way to the live news director of the 5 and 10. So when I say a line director, that is similar to an air traffic controller. So you're in control of a live newscast. What happens, what goes wrong, what's cut short, what's interrupted, what didn't go wrong. And this is twice a night for 12 years. So my brain is hardwired to solve, and to not get stuck. I didn't have time to get stuck. Everything would fall on me at the end of the night, at the end of the newscast. So that really, really, really groomed me in terms of my mindset and what can be thrown at me. Because the deaf card, no one could have seen that coming. There's no hearing loss history in my family at all. I was the only one to wear an aid and now an implant. That came out of nowhere. No one could have ever fully prepared me for that. And to be honest, I am glad I didn't know how hard it was going to get. I think oftentimes we just get in our own way. And I knew for me, with that line director mindset, I said, okay, so I'm going deaf. What do I need to do? I need to quickly learn ASL. I need to get fitted for some hearing aids. Our family needs to regroup on new ways to communicate in between then. I immediately went to solve and to move. And that's why I say adaptability is a verb. People say, no, it's not. It's a verb because it requires movement. And that was the only way I could get through what I had gone through, was to adapt as a new mom, losing my hearing, figuring out life a new way. There was no orientation. Like when you take a new course, there's an orientation phase. You learn some of the orientation. There was zero orientation, only adaptation. So instead of desperation, I chose inspiration. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do this. God gave me this because he knew I could handle it. And look, I made it out just fine. And I'm ready for whatever life comes at me next. Like I can handle it. It's that those coping skills, that grit, that determination, that fighter instinct that I worry so much about our young generation not having, because they are, my kids are growing up in a very different lifestyle than I ever did. And it's nice to be able to give your children what you didn't have. But on the flip side, I worry that they won't have the same work ethic or the same value of delayed gratification and having to put in do the extra mile, do the extra work to come out better than average, and to do it for yourself. Resourcefulness is a huge one, right? Like resourcefulness in particular. Like I really worry that the younger generation is gonna miss out on resourcefulness as a huge component. And so adaptability was my message to the world, a big wake-up call and a love letter really to people who are struggling with, it doesn't even have to be hearing loss, with any disability, with a divorce, with the loss of a job, is how what kind of mindset that requires to move through it and get through it and find the hidden blessing. Because I've always believed that we are spiritually and developmentally homeless without setbacks. That's the dead zone. Without setbacks, without challenges, that's a dead zone. We never grow in that space. We don't want that. We don't want to stay comfortable forever. We want to get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's the entry point of joy. That's where the magic happens. That's the growth. That's the blessing, and that's the lesson. And I cannot drive that home enough. As you can see, it just lights me up because I'm living proof. I've served, I've had a brush with death. I'm still here. And I want to say, everyone, like, don't ever feel sorry for me. Just feel inspired to conquer your own setbacks, your own challenges, and have that adaptable mindset, and you will get through.
I love that. I mean, I can see how it does. It just lights you up talking about this. And even like for me, hearing about it, your experiences, it's such a mind shift. Like you said, I think that so much in our world today is about convenience and making things easier for people. And to have this idea that hardship and sorrow is actually the entry point of joy is such a big shift for people, for us to kind of get our minds around. And yet it's such a beautiful way to see it. And so true, like you said, if things are too easy, then we don't grow. And I think what you're saying is like that you didn't even realize the capacity you had until you had to face these difficulties. And now you can face anything. Like, because of these experiences, you're ready for whatever life throws at you. And I think that if we don't have the opportunity to experience that, then we don't really know what we can be and what we can become. And I know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And we want to, I see ourselves as society trying to protect ourselves from any change and discomfort. We'll do anything to control all aspects so that nothing undisturbed happens. That's not it. That's not where the learning grows. That's not where the magic is at all. And I know that's a mind shift, and that's not an overnight way of change of thinking way, but I promise you, you'll get addicted, and you'll see how it works and how I put it into practice into my life, and what strategies I used in particular, because they're no good if they just benefited me. Who am I to just hoard all these great life hacks? Like, I knew I needed to take what I had learned and give it right back, and show people exactly how to put into practice everyday mindsets, affirmations, beliefs, courage, that you absolutely can get through whatever's in front of you. There's no stopping you.
And I love that your book kind of works on two levels, that it's talking about us as individuals and what we can do and what we can overcome, but also talking about what we need to do as a society to be more inclusive, to be truly inclusive, and not just give lip service to diversity. You said a lot of people support diversity, but it's really very superficial, and real diversity and inclusion is much too difficult and messy for a lot of people to deal with. But even after everything you've been through and all that you've experienced, and you do have, as you mentioned, this very unique perspective, kind of insider outsider perspective, because of not becoming deaf until later in life, until your 30s. So despite all of this, you still have a very optimistic view of society and that we're going to get there, that we're not there yet, but you have a very optimistic view of where we can be. Where does that come from? And ultimately, what do you think that we need to do as a society to become truly supportive of each other?
Thank you for asking that. Yes, inclusivity is a hot topic. Some people it triggers some people. Some people love the idea of it. Some people don't have enough understanding of it. But it's not going anywhere. Inclusivity is representing us all. Everyone deserves a seat at the table. Everyone's voice needs to be heard. Inclusivity is making space for everybody, for everybody. And I do have a unique perspective as a former hearing person, now deaf person. I'm really a unicorn like that, and I call it my superpower, that I'm able to, my sound on and sound off option is thank you. That is the biggest blessing I've ever had in my life. I never thought I'd be like, thank you so much, God. But it truly is. Like, my sound off option has given me so much peace, so much clarity, reflective time. But yes, inclusivity at large. People like the concept of it, have a hard time though putting it into practice and into their everyday views. So I always say, just start in your home. Start where you are. What we're talking, like, baby steps can amount to huge radical change, but we need to start in our own homes, and what we're showing our children, what we're exposing them to, our beliefs, our questioning our own identifications, and really the exposure of young children to the idea of inclusivity. And I think that is happening. I do see it. We still have a ways to go. I fear a lot of people think inclusivity is a trend, and again, it is not going everywhere. It is mainstream, and some people don't like it, and it's either because it triggers something in them that they don't like, or they don't want to accept something about it. But that will require shadow work of those own individuals. But being an inclusive world is the right way. That is how it can and it should be, and we will become that way. But we need to all join hands. I can't do this single-handedly. I can talk to thousands of people on a daily basis, and some will change their ways and some will not. So I really am, it's a call to humanity to wake up and really examine our own ideas and beliefs about inclusivity, and challenge ourselves to do better. Challenge your own self to do better, to have more empathy, to have more patience. It's a scientific fact that people who live with a disability have more entrepreneurial skills, more leadership skills, more patience, more empathy, resiliency, and ability to adapt. You know why? Because they're fighters. They've been fighting. Their whole life has been an uphill battle. So never underestimate the ability of someone with a disability. That is my main message.
I love that. And what a great note to end on, because I think that so much about your book is about seeing something that is a problem or a challenge, seeing it as a gift, like you were just talking about. And also as individuals, but also for us as a society, even those of us who don't have disabilities, when we make our society more accessible, it actually benefits all of us. It has so many benefits for everyone, even if in some ways, kind of like you were talking about with COVID, it shows the weak points in our society, and so it's really a gift for all of us, instead of having the attitude that, like, oh, we have to make these accommodations and it's going to make my life harder. It actually is going to make our society so much better and so much more inclusive. And I just want to throw in a really quick mention for those of you who didn't watch the interview a few weeks ago. Go back and watch the interview I had with Mighty Mila's Stories. It's a children's book series about a little girl with cochlear implants. but it's not focused on that. It's focused on just her regular life, but she just so happens to have hearing loss. So that ties in really well with what we're talking about today. And again, about this idea about being more inclusive and seeing beyond the disability and seeing the whole person. So I am going to go ahead and end it because I know I've taken up a lot of your time, but it was such a pleasure to talk with you. I can't recommend your book enough. That's Adaptability. And thank you for joining us. For those who are joining us late, this will be up on Instagram in just a few minutes and later on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you for having me. What a great conversation.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.